Smuggling illegal goods into different countries is a risky venture that comes with high rewards. If you're familiar with the laws of economics, you'll know that scarcity brings more value, and that's why several people are willing to risk spending the rest of their lives in jail just to smuggle hotshot items like drugs, exotic pets, and even people. However, that means these lawbreakers have had to come up with incredibly creative ways to get past the sharp eyes of border security and airport officials. Today's video is all about some of the most interesting strategies that people have used to smuggle drugs and other illicit products. From weaving drugs into exotic carpets to a man that taped more than a dozen snakes to his body, here are some of the most intelligent smugglers in the world. Number 7. A lover's sacrifice. We know love can make a lot of people do crazy things, but the worst is probably spending all your life savings on your partner. Well, this ridiculous attempt at smuggling definitely makes these lovebirds top the list of craziest things anyone has ever done for love. No, it wasn't an attempt to smuggle something illegal across the border, but a woman trying to sneak her lover out of jail. In 2011, 19-year-old Maria del Marahana decided to take matters into her hands instead of waiting for 20 years for her lover, Juan Ramirez Marina, to be released from jail after being locked up for illegal weapon possession. He had spent only 4 years when she came around on her usual conjugal visit. However, Maria was with a huge suitcase, and the officers didn't think too much about it. She needed a few things to have a lovely night, right? Well, that was until she came out a few hours later looking suspiciously nervous while she struggled with a suitcase. The guards realized that a suitcase shouldn't be that heavy to carry if it was just clothing and stopped her for a routine search. As you can guess, those weren't clothes in there, but her lover, curled up in a fetal position wearing only his underwear. And that was the end of that jailbreaking attempt. Maria was also pregnant at that time, so maybe they blamed it on the hormones. However, that solved the problem of being far away from each other as she earned some jail time for her efforts. Of course, it goes without saying that conjugal visits were no longer allowed. Number 6. Sewn in a car seat. The border between the United States and Mexico has definitely seen millions of creative ways to smuggle various items across, but this mind-blowing story definitely takes the cake. 42-year-old Enrique Aguilar was Mexican desperate to get into the United States, so he came up with a clever yet comfortable method to make this happen. His brilliant plan was to disguise himself as a car seat. Enrique created a hollow space in one of the passenger seats and installed a special frame that would help him hide inside without looking suspicious. However, that meant hours of being in an uncomfortable position with very little air coming in. We can mention 100 more things wrong with this idea, but this was really thinking outside the box for Enrique. Unfortunately, his efforts were wasted as the officer at the busy Californian border felt the seat didn't look normal at all, and that prompted a further search. You've got to admire his dedication though. Number 5. Pregnant with drugs. Moving away from people trying to smuggle themselves or other humans, this smart smuggler looked like any other pregnant woman, but she was hiding a lot more than a baby. Well, as smugglers are getting smarter than the day with how they get contraband items from one country to another, border officers have also had to up their game to sniff them out. No doubt about it, many items have made it across, but it wasn't this Canadian woman's lucky day. In September 2020, she joined the queue of people from Colombia who needed a pat-down before getting clearance to move on into the country. However, when the customs officer touched her belly through the mass of clothes, they realized that it felt cold and hard, which was strange. A belly carrying a baby should feel like soft skin and definitely be warm. So they asked her to lift her shirt and stared at a skin-colored stomach that looked incredibly real. It had stretch lines exactly where they were meant to be and a very real belly button. However, with a quick scan, they realized that she was carrying about 4 pounds of drugs. This baby belly was a cleverly crafted silicone stomach strapped to her body with the drugs stuffed inside. This could have fooled anybody, but definitely not the vigilant airport officers. Number 4. Delivery by a pigeon. If you're a huge fan of classics like Harry Potter, you'll have gotten used to the notion of delivering messages by pigeon. However, while you watched for the entertainment from wizards, some smugglers realized how perfect pigeons could be for delivering something other than letters and howlers. For several centuries, pigeons replaced ravens as the errand animal of choice, and they have now made a comeback in the most bizarre of ways. Some smugglers trained pigeons to carry a backpack full of crack and get them across the Colombian border. Well, that was definitely a whole new ballgame, which had its disadvantages as well. The biggest one was the limit on the quantity of crack that these birds could carry. However, on the plus side, this was still substantial enough to give the smugglers a good payday. It was also much more difficult to catch these birds because they could easily fly back and forth between dealers. Eventually, Colombian guards investigated this new approach and found a pigeon with 0.2 ounces of crack and 1.6 ounces of pot in its backpack. Number 3. Dirty exotic rugs. The last thing you would think about when you see rugs as exotic as these is to check them for drugs, and that's why it seemed like such a good idea to these intelligent smugglers. This smuggling attempt deserves to be recognized in the Great Smugglers Wall of Fame, if there was anything like that, due to how much time and effort they dedicated into making this as undetectable as possible. As shocking as it may sound, this is no ordinary rug. At the time it made it to the Manchester airport, it had millions of dollars worth of heroin carefully woven into the seams of the rugs. However, the literal party pooper was the sniffer dogs that aroused suspicion and prompted the security personnel to dig deeper into the beautiful carpets. No doubt about it, those dogs got a lot of treats that day as the officers were able to uncover the illegal treasure hidden inside the thread that looked a lot like normal carpet yarn. The drug smugglers had created little heroin tunnels and woven them inconspicuously into 46 carpets. Given the complicated design and sheer sophistication of the carpets, you can tell that this mind-boggling operation took several days of dedication and hard work. Unfortunately, all that was sniffed out by highly trained dogs. It wasn't their lucky day. Number 2. Master of iPhones. To almost everyone around the world, iPhones are just a regular type of phone that some can afford and others can't. However, in China, the rules are quite different. Many things are banned in this country, including some books, fireworks, and violent video games, and interestingly, phones and electronics are on the list too. Apparently, these gadgets are so expensive in mainland China than in nearby regions like Hong Kong. So people decided to save some money by smuggling these electronics from outside mainland China, or finding someone to do it for them. The huge advantage of this is that they can also avoid import tax in the process and make profit on each phone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the beauty of capitalism. Anyway, it wasn't so rare for people to get caught at China's border with various phones, but this Chinese man's story is more than a little hilarious. He was arrested with 94 iPhone 6 and 6 Plus phones strapped to various parts of his body with tape. He had phones everywhere, from his crotch and thighs to his calves and torsos. The crazy part is that he would have gotten away with it if he hadn't been walking funny and drawn so much attention. Even carrying one phone can be difficult sometimes. Imagine what it would be like with almost 100 phones on every inch of your body. Number 1. Snake Man. At the top of our list is this daring smuggler that will definitely send shivers down your spine. Over the years, there has been an increasing demand for exotic animals, and this has led to a growing animal smuggling market. It's not just gold and drugs that bring in those big bucks, animals are on that list too. This 22-year-old Norwegian man was selected for a quick check by customs officers. However, before he could make it past the security officials, they noticed a tarantula slide out of one of his bags. This was the biggest red flag. They needed to launch a full search on the man, and what they discovered was not what they expected. They thought it would be a couple of spiders around, but this man had about 14 royal pythons squeezed into his socks and taped to his body. Thankfully, these snakes were non-venomous, so they couldn't harm anyone. But that wasn't all. The Norwegian man also had small tins on each leg containing an albino leopard gecko. This was a pretty daring move. What do you think is the perfect punishment for smugglers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and check out more awesome ones on our channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.